So what I want to share in this video is particularly timely and relevant for Pluto in Scorpio generation because Mars is in Taurus. But the principle I'll start with to describe is applicable to any Pluto. You just need to follow where Mars is in relation to your natal Pluto by sign first and foremost, but also then obviously by your actual degree. And we are talking oppositions, conjunctions, and squares. And so, why is this important? And possibly particularly important for Pluto in Scorpio generation or Pluto in Taurus, but there is no one alive at the moment from that generation, is because Pluto rules Scorpio and Mars is the old rule of Scorpio, but Scorpio Taurus axis is essentially a Scorpio problem or task as well as Taurus's task to integrate. As someone said that Scorpio is an integrated Taurus or Taurus is an integrated Scorpio. And both signs are about desire. Other stuff as well, but it's at the root of all of it, at the root of our existence is desire. For as long as we have desire, as Jeffrey Wolf Green, who's the founder of evolutionary astrology, speaks of it, is for as long as we have desire, we know we have soul. I mean, our soul speaks to us through our desires. So any sign will have desires. But that like a philosophical problem, conceptual problem, of what is the nature of our desire is particularly of interest to Taurus Scorpio axis, or Tauruses and Scorpios, not necessarily just suns, but Marses and Plutos, obviously, and Venuses, and kind of planets that are particularly conducive to desire, that particularly speak to that desire. So Mars will be in Taurus. Well, he is already in Taurus, and it's meeting with Uranus on the 17th of this month, January, for 3 days. He'll be on the same degree, 6th degree. I think the exact conjunction is somewhere there on those days. I don't know exactly. Don't have it written down, but the conjunction will be happening. It'll be on the same degree, 6th degree of Taurus, where Uranus currently is stationing direct. So if you have Pluto at 6th degree Scorpio, this will be particularly potent few days. You've been feeling them already, no doubt, or near enough if you have it. Particularly if you have it like 8, 9 degrees Pluto, this will be equally 8, 9, right? 7, 8, 9, right? Will be particularly potent time for you. You'll be feeling it. But what I wanted to speak about, and it leaves Taurus 5th of March, goes into Gemini. So then, for Pluto in Sagittarius generation, this will be applicable. So if you're Pluto in Sag, you can also listen and prepare yourself for the time. Now, why I'm particularly fond of this aspect. Okay, it's my natal aspect. The two are in aspect, Pluto and Mars. So I'm again speaking from years of observing and living with this aspect. It's a square, but it's like I say, any of these opposition, square or conjunction are really important. Now, the teaching of evolutionary astrology goes to say that when you have natally Pluto and Mars in aspect, a particularly difficult, challenging aspect, like say square, opposition, or even conjunction, that means that this lifetime is a particularly important lifetime in terms of your soul's evolution or your own evolution. And one of the key themes you will be working throughout your life is, if you have this natal aspect, is you will be figuring out the nature of your desires. And I can attest to that. That's just a big part of my life, has been my journey. So, but being that it's Pluto in Scorpio generation, who are already deeply steeped into their own desires, in the sense either living them or being fascinated by them and exploring them and being, revolutionary about them, in the sense of the first generation in the living history as in that I can remember or my parents can remember, that generation is bringing this to the forefront. So this whole idea of desire in whatever shape and form, not just sexual, but just the concept of desire, is very much a theme of Pluto in Scorpio generation, or what their soul is here to explore and to share with us. But Pluto is not an easy, well, it's the most difficult of archetypes of planets or energies to access intentionally. Access consciously. It's the deep, deep, deep buried subconscious. So that's where Mars comes into it, and particularly most effectively when it's in a challenging aspect to your Pluto. In other words, and I said this many times, but it's like, it's always good to be reminded of this. In other words, you look to your Mars if and when you have them in these aspects, like I say, Pluto, Mars, yeah. You look to your Mars to understand your Pluto. You look to your Mars to understand what it is that your deepest soul's desires are. Because Mars is like the soldier of Pluto. It brings to our conscious awareness what our soul wants. So what we do or what we don't do equally but like we actively don't do. It's not something that you just don't do because it doesn't bother you, but it's like you are holding back and you don't want to do. That's an act, Mars act, right? So when you are holding back because you fear acting, because you fear that when you act in a certain way, something will happen that you fear. You fear whatever that is that you think it will happen. So that's, like I say, equally Mars in action, even though it's like inaction. And both are, all of those doings and not doings are Pluto speaking to you. So, however, because it's like the deepest unconscious, it's always wise to kind of unpack that and not take it at face value. So just an easy example here would be if you find yourself with like a Pluto in Scorpio, right, person, you're finding yourself with Mars in Taurus as it's transiting, that you are particularly craving certain foods, or you are binging or overeating, then I would very much do some deep psychological diving and digging to understand what food is to you and what it is that you are using food to either soothe or to stuff, because we eat sometimes so that we can suppress feelings. So we get full of stuff and we just don't feel anything anymore. So there's no energies moving, there's nowhere to move. You're too dense kind of thing. So like I said, don't go on a diet if that would be something you would typically do. Or don't stop yourself from eating necessarily, but as you're eating and being and craving and feeling those feelings, be very present with yourself and actively engage, particularly with the North Node in Gemini and Sagittarius South Node, mental kind of analysis and just understanding, using words, language to unpack, right? To kind of talk out loud to yourself, which is what I do, or talk to someone, or journal is another good one, to kind of break down whatever it is at the root of this for you, right? So like I said, don't punish yourself, and don't try to abruptly, willfully will, right, Mars, the kind of lower vibration of the will, the smaller will, the will with the lowercase w, but actually spend some time exactly doing what your Mars wants to do, but be very observant of yourself and looking under the roots of your actions. Now, the fact that this will be an opposition, you are most likely to be projecting your desires or your frustrations with your desires, because Mars in Taurus is a frustrated Mars, because it's sort of too earthy and for Mars, right? And so be very observant as who you are surrounding yourself with and who is triggering you. And so the opposition is the other. It's like the opposition. With oppositions, we are meant to take cues from others. So if you don't have oppositions, you can work on your stuff without that other triggering you or giving you cues in an area where you don't have opposition, right? So oppositions are there to tell us, actually take cues from others and engage with others to see where you are at in relation to that other person, right? So be very mindful of who, and maybe even what. I don't know if you have a relationship with stuff like being Taurus, right? Material goods, like your technology, your social media, iPhones or whatever phones. um, creativity, productivity, art, your furniture, your house, your home, food again, right? So all of these that are outside of you, kind of right at you, like opposite you, you can see them clearly. All of those things are going to be at play here and playing you and wanting to play with you, so you can really um, so it's like a great opportunity to understand the nature of your desires that you otherwise, particularly if you have no um, aspect of your natal Pluto in Scorpio with a Mars, right? This is a great time to use this transit to get to that root. And it's going to be just a month thing, so it's not like you're going to get to the bottom of it all, but that's not the point. They will be then coming into Leo, and we had a look back at the Aquarius time as well, when he was in Aquarius, what was going on then. But the squares are essentially times when we're less, it's kind of like hits us from the blind spots, and we get derailed by, and we feel something, but we can't really place it so clearly. With opposition is right opposite you, where here it's like I say with the squares, either squares really, it's less obvious. So think back at the time of Mars in Aquarius and prepare yourself for the Mars in Leo when this transit is over. With Uranus there, expect like sudden revelations as well. Also be very mindful of your physical body, and well, that goes for all of us because that's Mars conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And I've been experiencing a lot of like silly accidents, just dropping things, and so watch what it is that you're dropping, and just the whole concept of dropping, for instance, or knocking over or spilling. What wants to be spilled out of you? So you're spilling coffee instead of how you feel. So all that is also a good way of looking at it. And then the last tip I have for you is, and this is for all of us actually, look to where your Capricorn is, because this Mars will be making a trine. So it's like a very easeful. So doesn't you don't have to dig too deep. It'll kind of be clearer to you, more easily accessible. The Pluto in Capricorn basically will be easier accessible to you. Its desires. So look where your Capricorn is, and to understand what Pluto wants from you in that area of your life. Again, through the same actions of yours, but it's not now your innate desires of Pluto in Scorpio, but the desires of your Capricorn house. So, and that's happening. They're kind of tightening the trine from mid February till the end. So use that time to figure out your Capricorn house desires.